72 hours, and the all-important announcement that will be impacting millions of Americans all across the country. I have all the details and exactly what you need to know right here in the video. Let's get into it and discuss what's going on. All right, only a few days to go until we get yet again another very important announcement that will impact all of our money in some way, shape, or form. And as we recognize right now, the low income and fixed income, like those individuals that I often talk about here on the channel, fixed income beneficiaries from Social Security, this has been a rough time. The last few years alone have been really, really rough. Not only that, have you seen my recent videos out talking about how the average six-figure earner out there is still living paycheck to paycheck right now? This is unprecedented. We've never seen these types of reports before. Even in very hard economic times, it's very rare to see six-figure earners out there that are still struggling at the pace that we are currently seeing. This is absolutely nuts right now. This is certainly a very different time that we're living through, and the economic picture is not looking so great right now. Maybe you've seen some of my videos recently over the last few weeks talking about some of the economic data points that have been coming out. Not looking so great. Either way, the announcement that we're going to be getting in just a few days from now, right away on Wednesday, is going to be a very important one because this is when the Federal Reserve will be wrapping up their two-day FOMC meeting, and this will be the first meeting of 2025. Now, this is going to give us a better glimpse into what they are thinking as far as the overall economy, because remember, first off, they come out with their announcement, 2 p.m. East Coast time right away on Wednesday. We'll be getting the announcement as far as, hey, what are we going to do with interest rates? Are they going to raise interest rates? Will they pause, or will they cut yet again? So we get that announcement, and then about 30 minutes later, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, comes out and has a press conference where he answers questions and goes through what they're thinking as far as the Federal Reserve, as far as what they believe with the overall economy. Now, that's very, very important to listen to because, well, first off, you don't need to listen to it if you don't want to. I certainly will, and I will translate information back to you in a future video. But my point is, when he comes out and talks about that, it gives us a much better picture as far as what do they see on the horizon with the overall economy. Now, first off, you got to read between the lines. He's not going to tell us everything. I mean, it would be foolish for him to come out and be like, yeah, the economy's terrible right now, and we foresee a major recession in the next 3 months. That'd be really bad for him to say. He would not say that. But rather, you got to read between the lines as far as what is he saying and what is he projecting, basically with his statements and the questions that he answers from various people. So the big picture is here. They're going to likely cut interest rates. Based on the consensus that's out there, they're likely going to cut most likely 25 basis points is the consensus, but possibly 50 basis points. Remember this much as well. If they were to come in and cut, say, just for example, 50 basis points, okay, awesome. It makes it easier for all of us if we're floating balances on credit cards or if we have any kind of consumer debt that has variable interest rates, anything like that. It's going to make it a little bit easier because interest rates will come down. Remember this much as well. If you're one of the very lucky few that has a little bit of money in savings accounts, well, remember this much as well. Interest rates on savings accounts also comes down at the same time. So, yep, it's kind of a lose-lose when it comes down to that. But my point is, this will be, yet again, another important report because when they lower interest rates, it makes it a little bit easier for any of us that are floating balances on credit cards. And again, if you have any type of consumer loans that has variable interest, again, it lowers those interest rates a little bit. However, it's not instant. It usually takes 30, 60 days, something like that. It usually takes a couple months for the effects of that cut to interest rates to actually be felt when it comes down to actually any debt that we're floating. So it takes a while, a couple months until we actually feel the effects of that. But either way, we got to watch the messaging here as well because we've been seeing for a long time now, oh, we are right on the cusp of a major recession. We are about to fall into a major economic contraction, all kinds of things like this. And yes, I'm guilty. I've been saying these things for a while now as well because the economic data points are showing and pointing toward that, which is likely going to happen. But here's the thing. I've said this so many times before in other videos, which is it takes a long time. It takes a very, very long time. I mean, think of this analogy, okay? Just think of the analogy this way. The economy is kind of like an airplane, okay? An airplane flying across the sky, right? However fast they fly, I don't know, a couple hundred miles per hour, something like that. Doesn't matter. It's flying. Can that airplane just stop and pivot and turn 180 degrees and go the other direction? No. Airplanes can't do that. I mean, not that I know of anyway. I mean, maybe some airplanes can. I'm not sure. I don't know everything about aviation, but I would anticipate, in my mind, an airplane, in order to make a 180-degree turn, has to basically make a huge loop. It takes a long time for that airplane to start turning to one direction or the other, and eventually making a 180-degree turn. I don't know how far that thing has to fly in order to make that turn, but I would guess probably a couple miles is what it would have to take in order to make that big loop, because it has to start turning gradually, and eventually make that 180-degree turn. It takes a long time for that whole thing to happen, right? And then eventually it starts turning the other direction, and then it's off on its way 180 degrees in the total opposite direction. It's kind of the same thing with the economy. The economy takes a long time to move one direction or the other and to get the momentum in that direction. But once it starts moving in that direction, it's good. It's kind of it's like a runaway train down the tracks. But the deal is that when it comes time for the economy to start slowing, it takes a long time for it to slow generally, right? It takes a long time for it to slow and actually come down to a stop, right? Just like a train on the tracks. Train ripping down the tracks at 60 miles per hour. Takes a long time to slow that train down. But when it does eventually stop and then pivot and move the opposite direction, now all of a sudden, oh my, now it has momentum in the opposite direction, and then it starts picking up speed quickly. The economy is kind of like the same thing. And again, this all translates into the verbiage out of the Federal Reserve and what they do with their interest rate policy, because we could see some signaling here suggesting that, hey, the economy is not on solid footing right now, and the economy is actually doing pretty bad. And again, I know there's a ton of you here in the community that watch these videos that want to know, hey, when are we going to get some money? When are we going to get a one-off stimulus check? When are we going to get monthly checks? When are we going to get financial relief? When are they going to help us in some degree? You've heard me say this before in other videos, which is this: they will help us when the economy dictates that the economy needs money. It's all about the economy. I know that we want to believe that it's all about us and our finances and our need. Unfortunately, it's not. They don't care about that. That's not what it's about. Unfortunately, I wish I could say it would be, but that's unfortunately not the case. But my point is, when we see this announcement here, when we get this information and this messaging out of Jerome Powell, we'll need to watch this very closely, because the last few months have not been very good economically, right? Look at the most recent information we've received out over the last couple months here. The inflation data, not great. The inflation data is not showing that inflation is easing at the pace that they want it to be. Job reports have been terrible. The last few months of the job reports have been really, really bad, showing that, maybe the economy is really not doing great whatsoever. Even during the holiday time, November and December, historically a very strong time of year when we see a lot of holiday shopping and buying and spending and hiring, businesses hiring. Did we see any of that? Not really, not very much, not nearly what they expected. So as a result, the economy is not on a great footing right now. And again, you've heard me say this so many times. When the economy when the economy rolls over, when the economy tanks, when the economy goes into a recession, when the economy falls into a major economic contraction, this is when we see money printed and money pushed out in a variety of ways. So for those of you that have been wondering about any of this is going to be another key factor, because the Federal Reserve will give us signaling into, hey, here's what we see. And again, it's not about what they say necessarily, because they're not going to tell us the overall big picture. But when we see major changes or tone with what they're saying and their messaging, that's when we need to pay attention, because that's when the big messages come out, and that's when we start to see, they're cutting 50 basis points. They must see something that we may not recognize, or that we do recognize, and they're coming in, confirming it, trying to get ahead of a major recession. So for any of you that have been rooting for another stimulus check or anything like that, this is going to be a very important meeting, because of the messaging and what they do with interest rates. If they cut big, that's a big warning sign to all of us. The economy's in the crapper. Let's watch out. It's not good. Make sense? Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I hope this helps. I could sit here and talk about this literally for hours, because there's so much stuff that we need to watch right now, and it's all so highly correlated. Either way, I want to give you this little information here, and just watch. 72 hours, we'll be getting that information, and it's going to be very, very important. Anyway, I'm here for you. Please make sure to like the video down below, thumbs up button, subscribe as well if you've not done so yet. If you're new here or if you haven't done so, please make sure to subscribe as well. Totally free to do so. Big subscribe button down below. Check out the other videos here on the channel, the 5,000 plus videos in the video library, the popular videos I've hand selected for you down below in the description or the top of the comment section, and right now showing up on your screen as well. You'll see some videos there Thanks again. Enjoy. I hope this helps you. Check out the next video. And again, I will see you again later.